Tracking both command operations and accountability on a fire scene is incredibly difficult without the proper tools to streamline real-time accountability and situational awareness. At Battalion 3 Technologies, we were founded by 2 fire battalion chiefs to help firefighters in the field and beyond with some truly innovative technology platforms focused on firefighter safety and rehabilitation. Our flagship product, ICX, is an integrated command and control system with built-in fireground accountability that was designed to be instantly familiar to fire chiefs while simplifying all aspects of documentation. This fully digital solution drastically simplifies accountability with rugged Zebra R12 and L10 tablets, and reports can be instantly shared up the chain of command for a complete picture of what transpires at the scene. With countless other productivity features like scene and assessment timers designed by firefighters for firefighters, Battalion 3 delivers superior field technology to empower your fire department during and after every response. To learn more about how Battalion 3 and Zebra can help organize and protect your firefighters, contact Battalion 3 today.
Hello, welcome to Neighborhood News. George Webb investigates. Hello, George. Battalion 3,
Mark.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Hi, George.
Hey, Mark. How you
coming
doing?
in okay
Hey,
with everybody here.
hey, Aaron.
Hey.
I have the YouTube up, and I don't see a video output signal. So it could be just me. If anybody's in the comments and can see the signal, please say hello in the comments. If you're in the chat, I'm gonna try. Let's see if I'm gonna try to chat here.
Yeah.
It says 32 seconds. Oh, there I see.
We're
Okay.
talking. We're
Sorry.
talking.
All right,
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Yeah.
What
I apologize.
You're good. You're good.
Well,
Mhm.
it's this whole Battalion 3 thing. I think we think firefighters were killed, but it looks like a mass slaughter of Battalion 3 software. And at least two of
firefighters, like one of the founders, one of the guys dead is a founder of this business.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, I'm
and the
listening
other,
to your.
Yeah. The other. Sorry.
The other guy also is, there's several people. There's like 5 or 6 people on this fire brigade, and it seemed like they were led to the slaughter. It was almost like you're taking out a competitor, or it was almost like, the move is toward with this. It's called NEIRS. It's this national system, kind of like healthcare consolidated a while ago. Now, Agenda 2030, they want the police and fire and emergency services to be integrated. And if you don't get on that bus, it's a slaughter pen, literally. I mean, you're dead all over the mountain. If you have a point solution just for fire, Battalion 3, you're gonna be a target zone. It's gonna be a shooting gallery if you don't have an integrated solution. That's who was killed yesterday. It wasn't just firefighters. It was Battalion 3 software executives.
I was thinking, remember the movie The Treasure of the Sierra Madre?
I sure do.
Where, okay, that is, and I'm like trying to is this maybe something where trying to establish what kind of a motive? Nobody hates firemen. I mean, the only time you hear about it maybe like is in Paris, when they go into one of the slums, and they would get attacked for putting out a fire. But it's like everybody loves firefighters. It's like, so there's like, how does this make up? And this other kid, I was thinking, I think it was Hoxinger, but that there were like 2 kids back in the Barry
Hopsinger?
Hopsinger, yeah, back in the Barry Seal days. Okay, that there was in that Mena, Arkansas thing. There were these 2 kids, that must have come upon a drug deal, and they killed them and threw them on the railroad tracks, and they determined later that they weren't killed by the train; that they had been killed. I'm just wondering if there's just people that might have witnessed something, and they had to eliminate the witnesses. I think that's just kind of where I'm looking at it. So yeah. I'm curious, if any of that plays into this.
Well, there's a lot of data to support that. You see the sheriff here I've got saying that his group is taking fire, and these are the bullets that I put in my thing. he's saying that the group is taking fire at 6:30 in the afternoon, but the first guy dies at 3:30. So the first shooter dies at 3:30. I'll let Aaron play this. This is probably better for him to say. But he goes,
"Oh no, no, I'm not going to be able to support playing
Okay.
this many."
Well,
But
we'll
we're just trying to get the graphic up as fast as I can.
I think it's because we usually go at 2 o'clock,
That's
9
okay.
o'clock on
So,
right at 5 o'clock is part of this. Everybody's
Yeah.
on right now.
Maybe. But the sheriff is another interesting component of it. Certainly, you know, there's a lot of leads here. There's a lot of interesting aspects of the story, and you get a lot of flack for how, you know, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it, because they foist these stories on us whenever there's one of these horrendous events. And of course, we don't know exactly what's happening. We're not, you know, part of these networks and groups. We're analyzing it once it occurs and trying to be as fast as we can on the news and on the events, right? But it's like Adam Lanza at Sandy Hook, you know, oh, really? The kid who couldn't even, you know, pick up a pork chop is holding guns and doing all this, you know, and then you go to Las Vegas and they got the old man, you know, the old overweight man. And it's like, oh, really? This guy's, you know, shooting however many rounds per minute out of this hotel window. And, you know, they bring us these patsies, and they're such obviously patsies at this point. You know, like the model and the mode of the patsy is getting very obvious in a lot of cases. And this, you know, I mean, you never know for sure, but this is seeming like another one, right? Because like, oh, you're telling me the 19, 20-year-old kid is in the wilderness, you know, fending off Black Hawk helicopters and 300 police cars, and, you know, his whole response, and it's the 19-year-old kid who is providing this, you know, fight back to this? I don't think so. And so
I just think he might have seen something that they didn't want him to see, and they had to eliminate him.
Very possibly.
Well,
but yeah,
we went to the fork. We went to the fork in the road. There was a fork in the road where if the fire vehicles had two chances to get up the road, and where the roads meet, the fork in the road, if he did put his white van there and the police chief said the white van was in the way, the police chief said those two guys who got killed, the Battalion 3 software executives, they went up there and told the kid to move the van, and the kid wouldn't move the van. And so they said they were going to push the van off the side of the road. We went to the place where we thought the van was. We looked for the tire tracks, but my point is that that's when the shooting started, and it lasted for a half hour. I agree with Mark. This was a kind of an outer picket who was protecting something else. I don't know if it's drugs or whatever, but something up there they didn't want the fire, the battalion chiefs to come up and see. And they were being blocked physically by the white van, the kid's white van, and then they were also being shot at. And the kid is dead by 3:16 when he lights up the cell phone. The helicopter flies in and sees the kid's dead at 3:16. But then there's still a hail of bullets coming down 3.5 hours later, where they think it still is 4 shooters. So this leads me to believe that Mark is correct, that there's Morrison. This is an operation of some kind.
Was this software possibly going to be bought by some tech firm? Maybe there was a lot of money involved in the sale of it.
Yeah, FirstNet. It integrated with FirstNet, AT&T FirstNet. AT&T's FirstNet is the first responder network. So if that happens for this, the feds have to do this integration by January 1st. And they just showed this software at this emergency response conference called 5x5 in Seattle at the beginning of the month. And Mark's right. If the AT&T FirstNet buys this first responder software, if you're Palantir or if you're Tyler Systems out of Plano, Texas, you're shit ass out of luck, right? So this ICX product apparently was very good at real-time integration of a whole bunch of different first responders that you don't know already. Ad hoc rostering, they call it, or ad hoc mustering, where here's 5 firefighters that just arrived on scene that are trying to help from Post Falls. Clickety clickety click, add them in. So now I have all their communications, I have all their video camera from their dash cam, I have all their resources and assets of what they're capable of. They've got a bomb sniffing dog. Okay, great. I now know that they have a bomb sniffing dog. Send in that guy. Oh, there's a pumper truck over there. It's got a 100-foot ladder versus a 50-foot ladder. This is the type of command and incident management that this software had. Not with the police software, but I'm just saying with the fire management software, it's what it had. And I think Mark's hitting on something here with the FirstNet software, because AT&T did express interest in the FirstNet. FirstNet did express interest, and they have the deep pockets. What happened today to FirstNet? What happened today to AT&T? Trump was on with all the evangelical calls, and they took down AT&T. So, I'm not saying it's Palantir that hacked Trump's evangelical call, but 10,000 people on the phone, and AT&T's hacked. That was the conference where these guys, and I think these same guys who got killed are there at this conference, Morrison and Harwood, and they're making moves to this FirstNet, this first responder network at AT&T, and then there's blood all over the floor.
Are there surviving investors, surviving firefighters, or whatever in this development?
Yes, there's several.
The treasure of Sierra Madre, theory on this, which just, less people getting a piece of pie.
Yeah, Mark's referencing the treasure of Sierra Madre with Humphrey Bogart and Walter Brennan, where these 3 gold miners started to shoot each other to reduce their share. And so what Mark is saying here is, if there's 6 guys in the software firm, now there's 3, more for us kind of thing. I don't think that is the motivation here. I saw a lot of the firefighters that were involved who were, just shaken that they lost their president. The other CEO, the other co-founder, is not dead. He's still alive. But I think this really shatters the company, and it really shatters the AT&T deal. So I think it's more a competitor to theirs, like a Palantir or a Tyler Software, than I do think it's their comrades. I don't think it's a treasure of Sierra Madre scenario, in my opinion. But it's something I did consider. So, Aaron, Deborah's asking, was Rowley in his truck when they pushed him in the embankment? Well, that's possible. That's possible. I don't know.
We should go back and try this again later this evening or another time. Maybe we're a little too choppy here with our internet. We keep leaving and come back. What do you think?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a lot of good questions.
Let's try it again.
It'd be, I guess we try it again later or something.
Yeah. Well, let's try it again, and let's try to get the facts and information, because this is critical. I agree with what Mark said, and there's 5 or 6 people that should be resources. We're trying to get a hold of them, but they've got a real gag order. So let's try again, and we'll go from there.
Maybe tomorrow, yeah, because you're seeing us go and come back, right? It's getting like we're dropping out of the stream completely, I think, is what you're seeing, right?
Yeah, occasionally. Could you put Rowley? Could you put Deborah's last comment up there?
Rowley initiating the firing.
The firing, yeah, and with a shotgun, it seems like these guys were shot from a close range. There's one person that's alive. His name's Tisdale. He's also seems to be the technical genius behind this software. So he's shot running from the scene after these other 2 guys get it point blank. So I would like to interview him, but he's not out of the software yet, out of the hospital here yet. So we'll have more
Yeah, you can try to keep going. I mean, of course, you could always fill. It's not like, you know, if we drop away, people are always happy to see you too, of course. So maybe we try to just plow ahead and keep going.
Okay,
I
we can
certainly,
plow
you know,
ahead.
because I do. Okay, so like the the Bat 3 technology, right? You know, going up, trying to go up to these 10,000 foot views, like we try to do sometimes, and you know, do our working theory. It's a very fusion-y type thing, right? You're fusing the police with the fire and the communication, and even I can try to get a few more of those videos up, but it's all about integrating and fusing and making things easier for the first responder by taking the disparate, uncommunicating parties in an action and linking them together in ways that technology can help, which is a beautiful idea. However, you know, and Sheriff Norris, you know, we love you to death. You're a great guy, it seemingly, and a great sheriff, and you know that's fine. But not all assets know their assets, sir. And so part of our job is to dive into the local sheriff and things going on, because when we see fusion centers, when I see 9/11 fusion centers, and I know everybody's talking about the Shin Bet and the Mossad and how Sheriff Norris was with the Mossad in training. And, you know, great. That's a beautiful thing, too, or whatever thing that it is. And we can talk about it. But I'm a lot more interested in the 9/11 fusion centers. And he's top guy at the LA, you know, the Los Angeles Fusion Center, if I'm not mistaken, or a top guy. I mean, sounds like he's a very high level security clearance guy post 9/11. You know, and we've done the Kurt Weldon, you know, Fusion Central casting. We've seen these 9/11 Fusion Center players coming out of the woodwork, and here we are. Here's a gentleman who was participating in that activity. You know, and the technology now all these years later, we have this Bat 3 technology, which has that same type of ethic to it, that this technology is going to fuse between you know, first responding groups. You know, and so I don't know. I mean, these are just the facts, and we're putting them out there as best we can.
Well,
and
Casey,
those were, yeah, I mean,
Casey Whalen and I, about 6 months ago, I came up here to Coeur d'Alene and I did a show with him, and we actually went to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, and we went to the Fusion Center. We said, this is, you know, American Gladio. We said, this is you know, Phoenix program, you know, this is where all the false flags are going to come from, the whole spiel.
White and false flag. You know, the fact that it's got a white band in it.
Yeah, we had to have a white band. And you know, Carmadoc, who's a farm owner, is commenting about takings and saying solar, and saying, okay, well, there looks like there's a pocket of resistance here of people that want to keep their farms. Let's plunk a solar farm in there. But the thing about solar farms is you only can have so many solar farms in a state. If I want to take your farm now, by combining a paramilitary group with the fire department, I only need to hire a Lee Harvey Rowley, right? A 20-year-old to light a fire. And now I can roll in there with the fire department and 10 MRAPs and 50 guys in battle rattle. Hey, we're protecting the firefighters. So it's an easy way around the Constitution. So I don't think solar, it's too clunky. They're taking land in central Michigan with this solar thing, but it's too clunky of a solution. It's not flexible enough to say, hey, we want that farm. We want to get rid of that trailer trash, you know, area and make it, you know, a gated community for elites. Hey, we'll just have Lee Harvey Rowley set a little fire, and now we invade. So it does seem to be this way around the Constitution. It seems like what's being developed here is a work around the Constitution to invade your farm with a few firefighters and 15 MRAPs.
Mm-hmm. Well, so back to the Coeur d'Alene case here, the you know, the case that we're working on, obviously. Rowley. So, by the way, Rowley is the stepdad name, or Kucharita?
Rowley is the dad. Rowley is the dad. Jason Rowley. He had an army background. Was a cavalry scout. You know, a artillery scout.
Okay, and Kucharita is just, that's a stepfather.
The stepdad. That's the stepdad.
He does have the Rowley name. Wes,
right.
It
he
is
does have the Rowley name.
He does have the Rowley name, and so Rowley, the dad, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I saw in your Twitter, someone from the research community put on your Twitter feed there that he was with the department. He was contracting with the State Department.
Yeah, he was armed diplomatic. He was armed diplomatic security services. He was right out of military live exercise. Yeah.
I hate to laugh. I mean, laugh or cry, right? But I mean, yeah, we got another armed diplomatic security services guy here, and his son is the dead kid on the mountain.
Just like Paul Wellen.
Wasn't an ambush with the white van. That's where they initially ambushed the firemen and then push the van down the hill.
Well, I'm just, or is it
the kid did they pay the kid to start the fire, but they had to get rid of him because he knew that he started the fire and he knew who told him to go start the fire?
I think the kid is unfortunately a corpse with a hole in the head, and that there's a message being sent. I don't know. What do you think, George? I mean, that's where I'm seeing the father is armed diplomatic security services, and
yeah, I think
the father is. That's what I can't. We're trying to guess glom onto each. It's hard to catch all these things, but so the stepfather is State Department,
yes.
Armed Diplomatic Security Services. Okay, so that's even more so. Hey, we'll kill your step kid. You get out of line, we can do anything. To your step kid, and I don't know. I hate to say it like that, but that's what I see when I see.
Yeah, but they paved over the road. It's just like with Crooks when they cleaned up the blood and hosed down the building. Okay, something was there.
And the 24 hours to do the autopsy. We haven't gotten the autopsy information yet either. So that's another loose end to this whole thing. But the crux of the case right now, and the mistake that they've made, you see it's at 6:33 when I was standing outside of this for the press conference. He says we're taking a hail of bullets, we're under fire, we're taking fire. There could be one shooter, there could be two shooters, there could be three shooters, there could be four shooters. Now the rest of this I haven't added the graphics yet, so it's just a write-up of my live stream this morning. So you'll just have to read right now, but I'm going to add graphics as we go. But my problem, the point is that they say that they saw a cell phone activated at 3:16, and the helicopter went in to investigate the geolocation of that with a sniper in the helicopter, and they saw the kid dead. They saw the Lee Harvey Rowley dead under the tree. Now, if they're taking heavy fire 3.5 hours later, that means there's another sniper, and the other sniper's already killed Rowley as the patsy. So that's the part that didn't quite come off here.
Well, or there's one sniper and Rowley's not a sniper.
Rowley's not a sniper. He's
Lee Malvo. That it could be this Decker in the woods coaching and siding up to Rowley. But I think it's still more likely there's a third thread there. There's a deep state-sponsored thread who knows Rowley and knows Decker and is, communicating with Decker, and Decker's maybe an operative of that state-sponsored group. And Rowley is the patsy, at least for now, to help Decker.
Rowley's definitely the patsy, and Decker's probably I start my crime board with murderers. I don't start with painters and upholsterists and chicken pluckers. I started with murderers who are loose in the woods, who've killed 3 of their own children, and that's Decker. Who's the second shooter? It's Decker's. Looks like the obvious choice. It could be somebody else as we go forward, but I think here is Charles asked who set the fire in the first place. I think it was the shooters set the fire because they wanted to bring these Battalion 3 guys into a kill box, and I think they were going to try to wipe out all 11 of Battalion 3. There was even a New York Post report that came out that said all 11 had been shot.
That was the early news was 11 shots. So 11 were not shot.
No, only 3 were shot.
Okay.
2 killed, 1 seriously wounded who's still in the hospital. But they were trying to get everybody. They had primed the pump for all 11 getting killed. This was supposed to be a massacre. And basically by these 2 guys, these 2 Battalion 3 guys going up there and challenging this guy, it blew it, because the Battalion 3 other guys didn't go up to the van. Just these 2 executives got it point blank. So it didn't kind of come off the way it should have, the way they were planning. I think they were planning for just a total slaughter pen here at Battalion 3, and it didn't happen. So, but there's a lot of people that are scared because they know that it's just not battalion. It's just not Lee Harvey Rowley here. They have to be afraid of. They have to be afraid of everybody in town who set this up. And so they're quiet right now. I'm still trying to get people to talk.
I would think people have got to be, feeling like this is a patsy all around town, that like this isn't over. Someone is out there, whether it's Decker, up in a tree or right across the border in what's across the border, Alberta or Saskatchewan? Would you be?
I don't know. I think it's Alberta.
Like I said, it's just a tiny little sliver up there at the top, right? But
Regina, Saskatchewan.
Okay, so Regina. So he could be right over the border there. But it's either Decker out there, or there's a third entity, which would be theoretically state sponsored or something like that is out there, pulling the strings on this. And you wonder, because there's all these Aryan Nation overtones, which I really don't like, but it's so familiar now to all of us that they're gonna trope out white supremacist narratives to the news, that like whatever news hits, white supremacists did it, right? So anytime you can get any news that's got anything to do with white supremacists, and they've got this whole Aryan Nation CIA story from 24 years ago in Coeur d'Alene, so it's already like, oh yeah, that'll be a great place to really get the white supremacy stokes going. And I don't like the look of that either. That seems premeditated, or at least.
Well, this has some tie-ins.
Well, here's another kind of real quick. Just how would this software that they're developing prevent this type of a catastrophe from happening? It's like, well, if we'd have had this, we would have been able to be faster or whatever. Or somehow the software that they're developing would have maybe disrupted or changed the circumstances of what happened here.
Mark, I actually think that's a great thought. It might be the other way though, because I think what they're saying is if they had, it's great for fire response. ICX is great for fire response, but the problem is that you weren't integrated with police. You didn't have your police protection with you. You wouldn't have gotten killed if you would have had an integrated system with police. And that's, I think, the point's being made here, because you have a system that's great for fire, but you didn't integrate with police. That's why you got blown away. And that's why all 11 of your guys got slaughtered on the mountain. And I think that's the one point that's trying to be made here to the fire chiefs, is you need to back off on saying you want the best point solution, and you need to integrate with police and emergency services. I think that's what's happening.
And ATF and FBI and all of it. I think they want a whole federal.
Fusion centers. And see, for soft warfare, right? If you want to start conducting soft warfare, let's say we want Carmadoc's farm. The best thing to do is not to roll down Carmadoc's front lane with 30 MRAPs. Best thing to do is have Lee Harvey Rowley go set a wastebasket fire, right? And then have fire trucks responding, and then have 30 MRAPs behind it. I shouldn't be picking on any farmer. And then they can say, if you've returned fire, right, on all the MRAPs that are coming down your farm to take your farm, then you're shooting at firemen. Now you're the bad guy. You're just like the bad guys at the Aryan Nation. You're an Aryan Nation person for defending yourself against all the MRAPs. You see? So all I need is a kid on a bicycle with a little fire starter with one of those little, log things, and now I can bring the Third Army down your farm. And I think this is where we're going here. This is what's happening. Blackstone's buying up all these farms for people who don't sell out when their parents sell out, but it's not happening quick enough. Now we're going to burn them out, right? Now we're just going to burn them out. And this seems to be the direction that we're going. The firemen are going to be like firemen in Fahrenheit 451. They're not going to burn people's books. They're going to burn people's farms.
You're going to start a fire with the direct energy weapon.
Well,
however they start it, whether it's a kid on a bike or a direct energy or however they start it, now I can roll down.
Could that have been the case here?
Well,
nobody set the fire other than it could have been something like that. And
I think, as we continue to delve into the kabuki of the news and what the news, the shit sandwich that the news foists on us every day, it is also to be noted that their official story says that the kid used a flint, right? That like a stone and flint to start the fire. And it's like, give me a break, like you can't buy a Bic lighter. You like the kid, you don't think the kid could have got a Bic lighter? You think he really needed to use a stone and flints to make this happen? I mean,
well, that could be that when living in, because we had those in Boy Scouts.
No, it's BS. It's the MSM just shoving it up our ass.
Right. You can't get
someone living in the forest wouldn't have matches necessarily.
I don't know. What do you think, George?
Well,
Sorry.
If you're going to start a fire, I hate to say it, but you would go to Walmart and get a gas can, and fill up the gas can. What they want though is they do want to make it so that people can't fill up gas cans. It was the Timothy McVeigh thing took out fertilizer, right? And so you can't get that without Homeland Security permission. But now filling up with gas at the gas station, this is next, right? Is like, okay, this is no can do. So I'm looking at the comments here.
Well, here let's where you got a video on screen. So you mentioned the integration with BAT3, the integration components from their YouTube page. This is like a 50-second clip. ICX incident command with integrated firefighter accountability. So we'll watch this real quick. Oh, maybe. Tyrone, I got. Oh, you know what? I think we got. Here, you know what? Tyrone, I'm gonna try to play it. Sorry, we had Tyrone jump in, trying to help with the graphics. So does he have it now? There you go. Okay, ICX incident command with integrated firefighter accountability. Here we go.
Agent 11 must have you fire attack. 913 upon arrival. I'm gonna have you search.
Unit tracking.
Mayday! This is Engine 14. We've got a missing firefighter inside on the first level.
Effortless data logging. Digital command and control at your fingertips. BAT3, Public Safety Solutions. So
now you should play another one of these because they also have the capability of knowing who's in a house, and in a high-rise building, they know which firefighters on which floor. So this is the whole 9/11 thing. The firefighters are in the building or the firefighters are not in the building, like Mark was saying. So this is a very sophisticated threat, right, to the plan of, hey, we needed integrated stuff. If we want to take over Carmadox Farm, we need a kid with a Bic lighter, and we need 50 MRAPs, right? So that's what I'm talking about here, is that these fire chiefs can't now pick the best solution, especially, they have a high-rise solution too about which firefighters are in the building on what floor. And now they're going to have something that's more integrated with these MRAPs.
Well, remember, Kurt Weldon is big on the firefighters. He is the firefighter champion in Congress, Weldon, and certainly his fusion center activity was highly integrated with that as well. But it's just a lot of people popping up in the news here again after all these years.
Yeah, is there another
here
video for Bat 3? Because I think the more we know about Bat 3, the more
Yes.
we're going to know about why they were killed.
Here, I'm putting them in the chat. If Tyrone, you're going to play them there, I'm throwing them in the private chat. We got neighborhood news over here in Temperance. We got a charrette scheduled, or Lambertville, Temperance, Bedford, Lower Michigan. It's all the same little township here. We having a charrette in August where we're going to get the studio, developed, ready for moving the ball forward into the fall and into the future. So certainly, if you all want to be part of
doing AI, we will be doing AI and showing how to use AI for news gathering. So,
Absolutely.
and that's going to be important. Storytelling and news gathering is important. So
we got Tyrone behind the scenes, thanks to our great international news group of researchers here helping out, making it happen. So, but he's there. Yeah. So play this one, Tyrone. This is called Battery 3 Command and Control Evolved. So this is like their whole command and control portal. I guess the fire captain would be kind of sitting there back from the fire a little bit with his Zebra tablet. Fireman 1 is here, 2 is here, ladder. Yep. And then he's taking the ladder and he's moving the ladder over to this part, deactivate that ladder, move that ladder, whereas in the past, you're screaming at each other with all this noise, like, take the ladder over there, right? It's like, Fio, there's a kid in the second window, go get him, and they're shouting at each other and there's noise and there's fires. And so
especially when you start getting into these commercial fires, and go ahead and play it anytime, Tyrone, anytime you want.
Yeah, there you
go.
In emergency response, information is everything. Battalion 3 ICX transforms your Zebra tablet into a command center. Track personnel, monitor air supply, manage resources, all with military-grade durability. Battalion 3 ICX, the future of incident command. For more info, contact Battalion 3.
Yeah, there you have. So they got a lot of quick videos, or a couple quick videos on their YouTube page. If folks want to subscribe to the Battalion 3 YouTube page, I think they have 10 subscribers, and most of these videos had about 8 to 10 views. So even though
it's going to really change things, I think sometimes these things backfire because there's nothing that it's like Mark said. With the Sierra Madre, what I love about what Mark said about Sierra Madre is there's gold underneath your feet. Remember Walter Brennan at the end does his little gold dance and he goes, it's right under your feet. You didn't realize it because gold doesn't look like gold dust. It's kind of like dirty coal dust, And my point is that there's a money motive here. There's a lot of money to be made here. And that's the reason for the murders. And I definitely agree with Mark on that. There's a hidden motive here, and it's a money-oriented motive.
The thing with this data, because I noticed from my previous career, it's like nail soup. You bring this in, and it's constantly needing more investment every year. That's updated, and so you've created this cost that wasn't there before. That's just continuous because you're going to put the system in, but it's never finished. There's always something else that has to be added to it, or it becomes obsolete and it has to be replaced. And so you got to spend more money to do the upgrade. I look at a lot of this stuff as just a drain on the resources of companies and that. And yeah, this stuff is all nice, but why can't you buy it like off the shelf and it works and it'll work for, 10 or 15 years instead of having, being, 3 years or something that's completely obsolete.
I think that's the danger of Battalion 3 because Battalion 3 was going to go on a per fireman head cost. And I think it was going to be in the cloud. I think they also had a software solution as well. One of the competitors is they charge you per fireman. And so it's real easy to roll out for a small fire department, right? You just say, okay, well, here, let's go ahead and play this one.
All right, I think this is the last one on their YouTube page. Bat 3 Digital Command Evolution. So this is their He's playing it on mute there. Unit tracking. So we can talk over it. This is military grade, rugged reliability. And yeah.
Well, my point is let's say you have a solution which is like Mark's saying, the other big dogs, they start out with saying it's $1 million. And you're the fire chief. You don't really can't argue with them. Here's $1 million. And then it's $250,000 a year to maintain. And if it's Palantir, it's $1 million a year to maintain. And there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to pass that cost on to your taxpayers. Whereas if you have a per head charge, let's say it's $25 a head. Well, as your fire department grows and your tax revenue grows, then you can pay $25 a head. You don't have this ongoing maintenance cost and big upfront sunk cost. And because I think Battalion 3 was a smaller solution and much more flexible in the cloud, and I think it was cheaper, even if the software version, I think Mark's point here is the big dogs are not going to be happy. And the big dogs want to get in there with sort of a sucker fish, just a cancer to suck the budget out of these cities. And the city has no recourse. Once you've glommed onto this thing, you can't get the thing out of there. You're stuck with Palantir, the pig that it is. You're paying $1 million a year, whether you like it or not.
I'm thinking, remember when Emergency, Jack Webb's TV show came on? That was like the catalyst to get all these cities to go into having paramedics and the advanced rescue squad and and all of that. Okay. And and I can remember working, and you call a fire department because somebody slipped, and the whole department's showing up at, what do we need ladder trucks here? And she broke her leg. Why are the ladder trucks here? And they're for support, but it's,
pretty big truck with a lot of fuel consumption for support.
In Toledo, it was set up as REMSNO originally. It was a regional emergency because the county and the city voted against it. They didn't want it. So then they created it like this, and it worked along for a couple of years. And then the money all somehow disappeared out of the Marblehead Bank. And then the fire departments took it over. But it was it had to have been set up that way from the start. It was to fail so it could become a ward of the corporation, and then so, and the extension of the paramedics, all of this technology is just making it that much more municipal.
And I think that was the danger of FirstNet and AT&T buying this company, because it did integrate with FirstNet. It was a plug and play solution. And what AT&T strategy is, hey, I'll just plug in the software module for fire. I'll just plug in the software module for police. And then I'll write a backplane, that shows me my police in one screen, my fire in another screen, and my emergency services in another screen. And that'll be our software. And that's directly flying in the face against this Tyler technology out of Plano, Texas. And that's a direct competitor once they do that backplane strategy with Palantir. So I agree with what Mark's saying 100%, is that this thing was a dangerous piece of a modular software that could have been plugged into the AT&T first responder network, which is called FirstNet. And it's amazing. Trump got his conference call taken down again twice. This is the second time. So they're trying to smear AT&T. Not AT&T used to be a customer of mine in Bothell, Washington, on the Ansett side. But I'm not making any money with AT&T anymore. But I'm just saying that it seems like a Palantir smear of AT&T. 2 national calls down. Trump made a big deal about that today, and that's a big time smear. That's a Vindman type smear.
I missed the news today. I guess. What did you hear about this? Mm-hmm. The Trump calls dropped by AT&T.
Yeah. Just Google Trump call dropped by AT&T, and he was pissed. There's 10,000 pastors on this evangelical line, and I don't know if it was his Sunday show or if it was his Monday show or Tuesday show. But anyway, it was like 10,000 pastors And then a lot of the pastors rebroadcast the Trump call to their whole flock. So yeah, here we go. As soon as the ad gets over with, I think you'll see that there was.
Well, I'm thinking, the Chicago mob, the way they do it, be a real shame if the firefighters in your town ended up like the firefighters there in Idaho. You're really going to need this software there, or else something could happen to your firefighters. I know that's my Chicago mob voice. I'll have to practice my Chicago mob voice.
How big is this Coeur d'Alene?
But
population wise,
I don't know. I'll have to look it up here. Yeah.
Because, it doesn't look like a very big town. It's got a substantial population.
55,000.
Okay, but mostly like that you would have a volunteer fire department. You wouldn't have a full-time fire department. This one does, kind of.
This one does because they have a lot of high-end elite houses, 10, 12 million, $15 million houses. So even though it's a resort, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Trump,
I'm definitely seeing there, but yeah, a lot of SM BS being foisted on us with a story that I guess we're pretty good at detecting it here in our research community. Oh, here we go. There's the Trump call coming up. But I don't know. There was a couple other stories there that I thought we should get to because I think people were maybe getting confused. There's a lot coming at them, and there's 2 additional deaths. Tyrone, you'll see the link there in the private chat. There's 2 additional deaths that are not necessarily connected with this, but I would expect that gruesome deaths are not all that common in the Coeur d'Alene area, or the Metro Coeur d'Alene area, or wherever this all kind of is happening. But I would expect that these 2 deaths, even though they've gotten overshadowed by the incident with the firefighters, that these are still stories that need to be looked into. Whether they're connected or not, we don't know. But sometimes people will be listening and they'll be trying to process the information, and then they'll hear about these 2 deaths and they won't hear that they're not necessarily connected. So people are giving you flack that you're saying that, like, oh, someone's out there and there's a serial killer on the loose and these 2 deaths are included, though at all. You just want to draw everyone's attention to these 2 deaths because of how this is a robot alien voice. So let me draw the attention to these 2. So yeah, if Tyrone wants to put them up there, people can maybe I'll send the video. There's just articles there.
These are not necessarily related, but this is a town, I think, that had no murders last year, and there's 2 murders within 24 hours of the shootings. So I guess I believe the sheriff that says the guy who jumped off the bridge and like 30 minutes after his last press conference ended on Sunday. I guess I believe it's not related. Is that a shareholder for Battalion 3? Is he the son or the grandson of the person who was wounded at the hospital? Is he the son of the person wounded at the hospital? The woman who's a teacher who is leaves mysteriously from a family gathering, then she's 30 miles away on a boat, and then she's 30 miles in the other direction, shot in the head. I guess, and that's the next day. I believe, right? Here's the story of the kid jumping off the bridge. I believe it's not related. I feel horrible that there's a young man who's got depression issues and so forth, but he jumps off the bridge at about the same time the press conference happens.
Or did he get thrown off?
Yeah. Could he have been one of the people?
Nobody. These are obviously in a lot of moving information, and these are just other leads that should be tracked. We should nothing. A lot of go down here in an area that doesn't necessarily.
I think you're having some connection issues, Aaron, but I want to say that they need to be looked into. I mean, what's the guy? Here's the kid who committed suicide. What happened? What's his name? Let us look into it. By hiding it, it makes us think that they're hiding something. Same thing with this woman. They didn't announce it the day she was disappeared during this whole incident. She was gone from her family all Sunday. They didn't say a word about it. They didn't say anything about it on Monday. And then we have to find her, and we have to find that she's been shot in the head, right, on Monday night. It's citizen journalists that had to find out that she had been shot in the head. So, and women don't normally shoot. Go ahead.
I just want to say, isn't it interesting that they had to mention that it has no connection to what recently happened there?
Yeah,
why would anybody even think that it's related to begin with?
Yeah. Why wouldn't they just say it?
I had to pop in to say that.
I agree with you,
Thank
Tyrone.
you for popping in, Tyrone. Fill in for us there. Thank you.
Tyrone's the guy who said, hey, we should go over to Clariton because I think DHS paid for Crooks's 45 odd lessons to learn how to be a sniper. And sure enough, we went to Clariton. We found out that was true. So Tyrone's got pretty good instincts. We went over to Allegheny Gun Works where they had switched the title of Crooks's dad's gun over to Crooks. Mm-hmm. And that seemed like that was a paperwork transaction after Crooks is dead. That's interesting how Crooks in death transferred the gun ownership to himself. Then they closed Allegheny Gun Works down. I was sitting with Tyrone when they looked like they brought a gun out after Tyrone and I were making a film, and Tyrone went in and asked some questions about shooting lessons. They looked like they brought a gun out and put it in the trunk.
They definitely walked out with a gun after we left.
Yeah, so it's like, what's going on here? So,
and they robbed it before they shut it down. It got robbed.
It was robbed. And it was robbed. So now
down, it was sort of like, oh, we got robbed. The glass is all broken. What do we, start the store again or whatever? But they got robbed first, which is like, okay, sorry.
But that was another one of those. That was another one of those. I hate to say the false flag thing, but that was another one of those things in Bethel Park, where they were going to say, the people were, B'nai B'rith, and they're targeting you're Jewish, you're the super Jew, Aaron. We did Birth of a Nation, the documentary. We were beyond reproach. We're not anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
But there was kind of this nurturing and entrapment of Crooks to be a school shooter 2 years before, when he was graduating from high school, 2 years before, and then they used him again 2 years later. So when we see this kind of fake news and these false flags, we have to call it out. We just have to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here, I'll try to get the video over there to Tyrone. He can play it. Yeah. So I guess we've gone an hour, having a little hiccups with the internet. Let's try to wrap it up a little bit here.
Okay.
And maybe we'll do a Saturday night show. We got some comments and stuff. At least we plowed ahead. I'm glad we did plow ahead. We had some good questions there, got some good answers and clarification. This is a fast-moving case. A lot of misdirection, I think, from the authorities. Incomplete information, withholding of information. Oh, here's the missing woman found dead, and then the gentleman off the bridge. So definitely a lot of very peculiar stuff going on. And of course, George, we appreciate you being on the case. Being able to be there and bring us from the ground, from Coeur d'Alene, downtown. You showed the processions. You've been showing us all the great reporting from on the scene. There doesn't seem to be much news direct from Coeur d'Alene out there. None of the MSM is there, live on the street or anything. So you're if it wasn't for you, nobody would know what was going on, as usual, I guess, right? Because you're the man on the street.
How long of a drive is it up from Boise up to Coeur d'Alene?
7 or 8 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
We really felt To be honest with you, Casey Whalen had said that he had been following Antifa in Portland and in Seattle, and he was the one who said the July 4th attack is going to be Coeur d'Alene, and I didn't believe him because I said that doesn't make any sense, because they tried that in 2020. There was an Antifa attack, and all the townspeople came out with their guns, and they didn't break any windows because they saw everybody with the guns. So that was 2020, June 1st. I said, Casey, that's not going to happen again. Look at what the townspeople did. So I went to the nuclear plant, which was I thought they were going to either do an occupation at the nuclear plant in Richland or a nuclear
in Washington. Yeah.
Or Fairchild Air Force Base, Strategic Air Command Air Force Base in Spokane. So that's where I was, and then this thing turned out to be Coeur d'Alene, and we went over there. It's not that far of a drive, so we got lucky in positioning. But as far as the false flag coming for No Kings, that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. This was the false flag event. This is to get everybody saying, all these people who live in trailer parks are shooting at firemen. We need to burn down their trailer park and put in high-end gated communities that are high rent tax paying, on the waterfront. And we got to get rid of all these trailer parks. That's kind of what's coming. Now, I'm not a big trailer park fan either, but I don't think we should go in around the Constitution and burn them all down. Where are you going to put all the people? We went up and this happened in Bay City on Lake Pend Oreille, by the way. Mm-hmm. Same thing, where they got rid of the trailer park and they put in the high end, $15 million houses. So this is what's happening right now in Priest River, where we were to try to talk to the father of Lee Harvey Rowley, right?
I heard a lot of Californians had moved up to Idaho.
Yes, and this is the high end, waterfront. Still, you can get waterfront for $3 million. Where it gets you, a hovel, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Los Angeles. You get a waterfront here for $3 million.
Well, certainly Sheriff Norris rode that wave. He's an LA guy, Long Beach, LA guy, and he's found his way up to Coeur d'Alene. I found it interesting. Sheriff Norris was the only sheriff ever in Kootenai County who was not a member of the police force prior to becoming elected sheriff. That he, came in from outside. So that even right there, I think we might have lost George, and we got to remove him and add him back here. See what we get. But yeah, I found that interesting. Certainly about Sheriff Norris. I do find a lot of peculiar things in this story, and it is great to have George on the case as always. So we'll leave it right there. We might ask George video and video. He comes back in, but thanks for being here with us, everyone. Of course, neighborhood news. All of you guys here, you probably know that this is our attempt at neighborhood news 2.0. Neighborhood News 1.0 a few years ago was an awesome experience, and we all got to know each other and grow the research community together. And certainly Neighborhood News we're trying to get it going again here. We try to just bounce the ball as much as we can here on Wednesdays and maybe every other Saturday with George. We did, a couple years ago have, 250, 230 something daily episodes. We used to do George's Daily Show at noon every day. Me, Andy, and John, and Tyrone, and all of you guys out there, the whole research community. And so maybe we'll see in August when we have a charrette, if we can all put our collective efforts together and get this ball moving forward, as George always says. Certainly he moves the ball forward every day. And there are many researchers in the community who do the same, and hopefully Neighborhood News and me and Mark here can all be a part of it. And yeah, George won't be able to get back in. So, but yeah, it's all good. We did an hour, and he had great information. Of course, you can reference his Substack. Tyrone's got his Substack on screen. $8 a month for George's Substack. The best $8 you could spend on the internet or anywhere, really. Because really, when you think of, he's 3 hours a day. He's bringing us so much just time. I mean, it's even more than 3 hours a day. He did a 45-minute Twitter space, and he did about 2 hours, 45 minutes live stream earlier this morning. So not to mention he appeared on the Mike Church show there. Awesome Mike Church down there in Louisiana. He's got a daily show. So George was up early appearing on the Mike Church show this morning, if you want to catch that. And of course, these Substacks, not to mention the Substacks. So it is a full day of work from the big guy. We appreciate it. I know all of us here in the research community try to stay close to the information as best we can. And it's not for our group isn't for the faint of heart, like we look at all sides of the stories and we're not afraid to call bullshit, which is a very difficult thing in America nowadays because there is a very they've always got a story. Sometimes it's buttoned up, sometimes it's not buttoned up. Sometimes the story is convincing, sometimes the story is not convincing. Hey George, you didn't have to jump back in. It's okay. We were kind of closing up. We can keep going if you want, but just we're just letting everybody know where you can be found and how this research community is. This is how we are at the cutting edge, the forefront of research and investigations, because we're not afraid to see the facts that they're being presented, call bullshit. Usually there's a pretty obvious model that history has presented to us. We've got Lee Harvey Oswald. We've got Lee Harvey Crooks. We've got Lee Harvey Lanza. We've got Lee Harvey. We got a lot of Lee Harveys out here. So when we see a Lee Harvey Rowley, we know here's another Lee Harvey for us. And, a lot of people are afraid to call bullshit because, it's tough business, but we're calling it, happy to see
the narrative.
We're happy to sit here with you.
Story.
We're happy to sit here with you and call bullshit when they have a bullshit narrative for us. And that's what this one appears to be out of Coeur d'Alene. So we're going to continue on the story. We know you are.
15-minute city being created in Coeur d'Alene?
Yes, Coeur d'Alene has 2030, and there is a fire component to it and a police component to it. And this millionaire named Greg Carr is pushing it, and he's also the one who burned down the fake Aryan old Richard Butler CIA clubhouse that they put up there for the fake Aryan Nation. He's also the one who did the fake Aryan Inferno. They've got this sandcastle in the air they built with this Aryan Nation. My Cherokee Card Club, my Cherokee Nation Card Club is bigger than their fake Aryan Nation thing, but they keep pushing it like it's a real thing. And this guy named Greg Carr, who's pushing it, 2 R's, is also the guy who's putting in the UN Charter of Human Rights, right, for a museum for that. And he's also the guy pushing 2030. He's also the guy pushing the agenda for 2030, Coeur d'Alene 2030.
Well, and since you did jump back in, and
there'll be a Pacific Palisades event probably in Coeur d'Alene at some point in the future.
Yep,
possibly.
I agree.
Well, I wonder if this type of thing is more like see what we can do. You want us to Do you want us to go Pacific Palisades, or are we going to just do 2 firefighters on the mountain? We can do it the easy way or the hard way. This is. I don't know. That's maybe a little too.
Well, let's follow this story tomorrow and the next day. Let's see what happens with the white man. Let's
follow it. I will say though, with the white supremacy thing, the one comment I was going to make, and a little call out, little hot take, I guess, is just you're mentioning this gentleman here who's had his agenda with the white supremacy and the Aryan Nation and all that, but we know for the last 20 years of our lives or more that the main perpetrator of the white supremacy bullshit has been the FBI.
Yeah, and counterintelligence. Yep.
But Carlin B brought up the fact, though, that when they refer to white supremacy, they are referring to capitalists. Okay.
The left has a lot of agenda. I don't know what it is.
But white supremacy, you replace that with capitalist because it's the communists somehow.
Very good. My little message here to Dan Bongino and Kash Patel is let's go already, guys. This white supremacy thing is getting real old. And I'm not saying you guys are a part of it. I think there's probably a group at the FBI. If I was to make my wild guess / hypothesis, just on everything I know, being an American, living through all the last however many years and seeing this, is there is a rogue group at the FBI perpetrating this. And Bongino and Patel don't have control of it. And I hope they don't have control. I want to say it's that. Let's put it that way. I don't want to think Bongino and Patel are a part of it. But when I see a patsy, when I see white supremacy stuff, when I see pictures of fathers and stepfathers with Trump hats on and yada yada, armed diplomatic security services, State Department fathers, stepfathers, that kind of stuff. It's okay. All right. It's the FBI pulling their crap again. They had their whole little memo back in 2008 or 2006, whenever that was, that it wasn't going to be about Muslim terror anymore. Okay. We're sorry. We pushed so hard on Muslim terror. How are we going to make it up to all the mullahs and all the clerics? We'll go hard on white supremacy. And so they've been going hard on white supremacy on us for about 20 years now. And it's getting real old, and we see through it. And you don't even need to comment on that, George. I don't know. It's just like, I see through it. And Cash and Dan, let's go already, guys, because it's not Lee Harvey Rowley.
But here, to respond to what you're saying, okay, is because I'm like thinking about how Trump works. Remember, he hired John Bolton to, and why would he hire John Bolton? Okay. Well, all of a sudden, John Bolton, you're going to find out all of his connections through his phone and his computer, and you have it all there. And I'm wondering, if Cash and Bongino are just, monitoring the telephones, the software, and just, be real comfortable, come right in, do what you're going to do. And, you're right. We agree. But in the background, they're just gathering evidence.
Anything, Jay? Giving them the benefit of the doubt.
That's the canary trap scenario, and I'm hoping that's a canary trap. Let them in, leave the door open. That's how you catch Sylvester. Yeah, maybe. The canary trap is something that Task Force talked about a lot, so we'll see. But let's stay with the story, and we'll have updates on Saturday.
Okay. All right. Thanks for jumping back in with us. Thanks for being here with us, George. Thank you all for joining us. Neighborhood News, George Webb Investigates, and of course, please support George at Buy Me a Coffee, Substack, and of course, check out his Twitter all day, every day, and his YouTube channel's back. So thank you, George, for being with us. Thank you all for joining Neighborhood News. See you next time.
See you.